Hello guys and welcome back. In the last section we saw how we can dynamically add or remove form controls or form groups from a reactive form. In this section we are going to talk about creating custom validations in reactive forms. So every validation that we have in Angular form is basically it returns us either a validation error, so of this type that can be imported from Angular forms, or it returns us null. Okay, and a validation error here essentially is an object with a type with a key of type string and a value which can either be an object which then contains um, multiple fields, just as we saw in the case of min, length, and pattern, or it can either be just true that we saw in the case of required. Okay, so now that is something that we are going to create in this section. So to do that, just on the lines that are similar to the validators that we have in Angular, it's essentially a class inside which these are methods defined, and all these methods are of type static, and that's why we are able to essentially use them without even having to create instances of the validators class. So to start with this, we'll first try to create a class using Angular CLI, and in the classes folder we'll create a class named custom.validations.ts, and it's going to create a class for me named custom.validations.ts. Sorry, my bad. I'll just rename this to custom validations like so. Let's save this. I'm also going to rename this file to uh, let's rename this to custom.validations.ts like so. Alright, now our file will have um, functions. So let's say we have a function named unique. Now each function in here receives something called control, and each control in here is of type abstract control, that is something that can be imported from Angular forms like so, and it returns something called a validation errors, which is again something that will be imported from Angular forms, but it can also return null in this case. So let me start by returning null here, and let's say based on the value that we have on this control, if it is unique, then we will um, and if it is not already existing, then we will return null, and if it does exist, then we will return an object with the name of unique, because that's what Angular also goes for. It's basically a convention. So what we will do is we'll first check for the value in control, and since this is a control of type abstract control, we should see a value property in it like so. Let's just hard code the value that we are looking for here as cold. So if cold is going to be the value, then we would be returning an object with a key named unique and a value of true. Else we are going to return null. So I'll just get rid of this next line. Let's save this, and to just use this inside our component, we will use it for the username field here, and since this is a synchronous validation, we can simply use this class custom validations dot, and we have a method named unique in here. custom validations dot unique. And now this needs to be of type static so that we can use it without having to create an instance. And now we get rid of this error here, like so. All right, now inside the template, we will be logging an error if this is invalid. So let's just copy this markup from here and paste it over here. I'll just indent it a bit. Also let's create a getter for username, which would essentially return the username form control. So I can use it now inside this. So I can do something like username if it is touched, and if this is invalid, then in that case, if the error is, let's say, of unique, then we'll say that username must be unique, like so. Let's save this and go back. So if I type in cold and toggle away or blur away, then I should see username must be unique getting printed or displayed onto the screen. So this is how you can essentially create a synchronous validation um, inside a class that can then be used inside any other class, or any other component class that you are intending to. In the next video, we are going to talk about creating an asynchronous validator and then using it inside our um, new user reactor component. I'll see you guys in the next video.